Hello everyone, I am Lelu, and this time I will show you how to create a stylized fire effect in Godot. This is inspired by the amazing fire effects in games like Zelda or Genshin Impact. In this video, I will show you how to use the particle system and the visual shader to create a dynamic fire effect. So let's go ahead and create our fire. But first, we need to create two textures. I will use Photoshop, but you can use any software you want. You can use GIMP or Krita, for example, which are free. Okay, so let's create an image with a resolution of 1080 by 1080. This will be our fire texture. Let's fill this with black, and for this I will pick a gray, maybe a 50% gray, and let's draw a fire shape. It must look like a teardrop shape, but more spiky and wavy. Cool. So now let's pick another gray, but this one will be a bit more brighter, maybe a 25% bright. And let's draw the internal shape. It must be similar to the previous shape, but with more detail and more dynamic shape. Awesome. And finally, we will pick a white, a full white color, and paint the internal shape. I am using the eraser tool to create some spikes and holes, so it looks more dynamic. Cool, I like this. Maybe I can adjust this a little bit later on, but for now, let's save this. This will be our fire texture. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and create the second texture. This time I will pick a soft brush and paint a curve like this. We will use this to move our fire. Awesome. But this needs a little bit more detail, so I will use a secret technique. I will pick a picture of my cat and expand it a little bit. Remove the colors. Use some Photoshop filters to blend it with the other layers. Maybe reduce the opacity. Finally, we need this texture to be tileable. So I will shrink it, duplicate it, and okay. So now let's fix this cut here using the Godot tool. Maybe we can use this as well to add some more details. Awesome. Let's save this. This will be our distortion texture. Okay, so now we have our texture. Let's go ahead and create our particle system. So I will go ahead, and here in the scene I will create a new node 3D, and let's name this VFX_fire. And inside this node I will create a CPU particle system. So here we go to drawing and select our quad mesh, new quad mesh. Nice. And here in the amount I will set this to 1, and I will disable the gravity, putting this to 0. Nice, so now we have this plane in particle system, and this needs a material, so let's go to geometry, material override, and let's create a new shader material. Nice, so let's open it, and in order for this to work we need a shader. So let's go here, right click, new resource, and look for a visual shader. Let's name this S_special shader. Let's create this. And I will drag and drop this into my material. Cool. So now we can go and click here, go to modes and set the cool mode to be disabled and set this to unshaded. Nice. So now we have this plane, and I want this plane to always look at the camera. So let's go to the shader graph, and in the vertex section I will create a get billboard matrix and set the billboard type to Y billboard. Connect this. So now if we look at the plane, he is always facing the camera, except if we look up, but I will show you how to fix this later on in the video. For now, let's keep it as this. Okay, so now let's go to fragment and let's start modifying our shader. Drag and drop my textures. Cool, so let's go to our texture and pick our fire texture. And I want this to be multiplied. Let's multiply this by a color. Let's create a right click and create a color constant. Connect this to the multiply and connect this to the albedo. Now we have this fire, and for example here I can pick a different color, for example this, but for now I will choose a raw value of 4, 0.8 and 0. Nice. Cool. So now we have this to be transparent. So let's take our fire texture and decompose. We only need a single value and connect this to the alpha channel. So now we have this fire. And in order to this to look more dynamic, we need to distort it. So I will pick my distortion texture here, and I want to create a UV. And to this UV, I can add my distortion. But this is a black and white texture. I only need a single value, so I will decompose this and pick a single value, connect it here, and plug it into the fire. And we can see how now this fire is being distorted. But this is too much intense, so let's grab our distortion texture and let's divide it. Maybe we can divide it for a value, for example, 4. So now it's less intense. Connect this. Now we have this distorted fire. But I want this to move. So I can move my distortion texture. And for that, I need to use a panning node, UV panning node. So let's take this and connect this to the UV. And here in the offset, I will create a new time node. And I want to multiply this time node for a vector 2, connect it to the offset. And here in the vector 2, we can put a velocity, for example, 0 and 1 in the y-axis. Now we can see how the fire is moving. So now, let's say, for example, I want this fire to don't be distorted at the bottom. And in order to do that, we can use a mask. So let me disconnect the time node for a moment so you can see it more clearly. And I will pick my distortion texture, and I will create a texture 2D. I want this gradient texture 2D. And if we click here in the texture, we go to the right, and here we can modify the gradient in the panel. And I want this gradient to, for example, go vertically. So I will edit these values here, something like this. Here we can control the intensity of the gradient. Maybe something like this. Okay. If we click the eye, we can preview the gradient. And I will multiply my distortion texture like this for the gradient, but this gradient needs to be a blue node because it's a black and white. So I will decompose this texture. I only need a single channel to multiply it. Here you can see how in the bottom it is black, so I don't get distortion in the bottom. And I will plug this into my distortion. Nice. You can see how now in the bottom this don't get distorted. Cool. So now we can reconnect our time node. And now we have the fire being animated, and here if we click the gradient we can control how this affects the distortion from the bottom to the top. Cool. So now let's say, for example, we want to modify the color or the speed or any texture here. I don't want to go and open the graph every time I want to edit a value. So instead of using, for example, a color constant, we can delete this and create a new input node and set this to color and connect this here. And for example, let's say we can modify this texture, or for example the speed. We can create a new node, a new vector2 parameter. Let's name this speed and connect this here. So now, for example, I can close my graph, and if I open and click the particles, here in the shader parameters, if we open this, we can set the speed here, for example, 0 and 1 in the y-axis. And for example, we can also go to color, and here we can set any color we want. For now, I will set this in a raw value of 4, 0.8, and 0. Cool. Now we have our fire. So now we can create a new smoke for the fire. So let's go here and Control A and create a new GPU particle system. I will name this smoke, and let's name this fire. Nice. So let's go to the smoke particle system, and because this is a GPU particle system, we need to go into the process material and create a new particle process material. So here we can adjust the properties, but first we need to go to the draw passes and assign a new mesh here. This will use a quad mesh. As you can see, it's falling down because it has gravity, but I want this smoke to go up. So I will go to accelerations, gravity, and set this instead of -9, I will put a value of maybe 5. So now it goes up. And instead of having 8 planes, I want to have 15 planes. And okay, we also need a texture for our smoke. So I have here this texture I have created. I will use this. And this needs a new material. So let's go here to geometry, material override. We'll create a new shader material. And we need to add a new shader here. So let's create here a new resource. Look for a shader, a visual shader. I will name this s_smoke shader. Create this and drag and drop this here into the material, and here we can set this shader, and I will leave this as it is, so for now. So now we have this, and I want this as well to rotate and follow the camera, the plane of the smoke. So I will go to vertex, and here I can create a billboard matrix, set this type to particles, keep scale, and connect this. So now if we rotate, we can always see the smoke. But now we have a problem. Now this is hiding the fire. We will fix that in a moment. But for now, let's go to the fragment, and I will create a new input node, a color input, and I will drag and drop my smoke texture, multiply the color input with the smoke texture, connect this here into the albedo. Also, I want this to be transparent, so I can pick this and decompose this. I only need a single channel, connect to the alpha. Now we have this effect. I also want my color to control the alpha channel, so I can take the color and decompose this, pick the alpha channel and multiply the alpha channel with my single channel of the smoke texture. Connect this to the alpha. Cool. Let's close this. Okay, so now we need to modify the smoke particles, but first we need to fix this bug we have with the smoke overlapping the fire. In order to do that, we can choose the fire, right-click the fire, and here into the sorting option we can set this to a value of, for example, 2. So now the fire is always rendering on the top of the smoke. Cool. So now let's go to the smoke particle system, and here I want to set an amount of 15 particles. I want this to have a lifetime of 1.6 and a little bit of randomness, so maybe 0.1 and 60 FPS, why not? Cool. So now we can go to the spawn and position. Instead of spawning in a single point, I want this to spawn into a sphere shape. This radius is too much. Let's put a value of 0.3, maybe 0.2. And for the angle, let's put an angle, for example, between minus this and 90. Now let's go to animated velocity, set an angular velocity of, for example, minus 180 to 180. Now it rotates. And let's go to accelerations. And here we can set, for example, a damping value between 1.5 and 2.2. Like this. And as for the color, we can go to display and color. Here we can set some kind of something like this. Nice. Also for the scale, this is too big, so I would go to scale, set a mean scale between 0.5 and 1.2, maybe 1. And I want this to be scaled over the time, so I can use this curve here and create a new curve to control the scale over time. So I want this to start big and go small like this. Awesome. So finally we can, for example, dissipate this by going to the color curves and color ramp, create a new gradient, and I want this to go from the alpha 0 to alpha 1, and once again alpha 0, so it disappears like you can see here. Okay, I don't want this video to last for too long, so I decided to tweak some values for myself, and also I added these little embers you can see here in a new particle system. This one, as you can see, and it's the same as the smoke, but instead of using the smoke texture, I use this texture and make the particle size smaller. So yeah, I get this embers effect. So now we have our fire. It's almost done. Also, here in the world options, if you go to glow, you can enable glow, and tweak these values to get a more interesting fire effect. So for example, I am using a screen mode in the glow, but if I choose, for example, additive mode, look how it looks. It looks more anime, like an anime style fire. And if I put it in, for example, soft light, it looks more static. So I prefer a screen, but feel free to play with these options. Also play with the smoke options to get the values you want for your game. So that's it. But now we still have a problem. If we get closer to our fire and look from above, we can still see that this is only a flat texture. So how can we fix this? Let me show you. Here I have a plane that follows the camera exactly as the fire. But instead of using a plane, I could use, for example, this. Multiple planes crossed. So here I have, for example, 6 planes crossed. And instead of using one single plane, I could use 6 planes. So I get an effect like this. You can also use a cylinder, for example, if you want to. We still need to fix this a little bit, but you get the idea. Sometimes the simple solution is the best solution. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. If you did, please give this video a like and subscribe. I will keep uploading more tutorials like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.